Hello, everybody. This is Joseph P. Farrell with News and Views from the Nefarium on Thursday, October 10th, 2013. It's very early in the morning, and as you can hear, I've still got a bit of the sinus problem, so I thought I'd better get the news and views out of the way since I missed last week. I want to thank everybody that expressed concern for health, gave me some suggestions, and so on. I truly appreciate everybody's prayers, your concern. And it's been a kind of a slow news week in a certain sense. As I was scanning through all my emails trying to decide what to talk about in this news and views, I was struck by the fact that so many of you had sent me articles that I'm going to have to blog about and talk about in writing because they deserve that. But I do want to talk about something today that I've been suggesting. We have another little indicator that has been quietly leaked or slipped through the cracks, I think, that what I've been saying, me, Catherine Austin Fitts, some other people in the alternative research community, we have been suggesting for some time that the NSA electronic eavesdropping capability is, in fact, the ultimate insider trading mechanism, that it is a data mining, a data collection system for the express purpose, we think, at least principally, or perhaps one of the major reasons that they're doing this, is so that they can game out various scenarios. They have incredible predictive programming, and this appears to come out of developments in a field that I've been tracking in various banking books that I've been writing called econophysics. I began with Babylon's Banksters. I talk about it more in kind of a disguised way in Financial Vipers of Venice, but they're gaming out scenarios, future scenarios, and so on and so forth. So every scrap of data in those kinds of scenario gaming applications is truly important. And I suspect that they have been doing this under the guise of the war on terrorism, keeping everybody safe, that the real intention is elsewhere, that the real intention has been, number one, to inject the intelligence community into financial markets, financial manipulation, and so on. I've been arguing, in fact, that the intelligence communities in the United States were set up, more or less, as competitors to the central banks when President Truman established what I believe was a hidden system of finance, a very large one, after the war, and involved some of the major Western banks in that system. So in other words, to track all of this, they needed an electronic, immediate, real-time, hands-on spying capability. And that's what I think the NSA, to a certain extent, has become. Now, we have an interesting admission that came out, let me see here, on October 9th, so not too long ago, that General Keith Alexander, who those of you in Europe who may not know who the head of the National Security Agency, the agency that does all the electronic spying for the United States, this is General Keith Alexander. And I want to read this. I'll show you the headline because it's a little bit of confirmation that this financial role is in fact what the NSA has at least more recently moved into. And here we go. Oops. May not be able to see that. Doesn't look like you can. Well, the headline says NSA wants even greater powers to defend Wall Street. And this is an article by Natasha Lennard, and it's on Solon, and I will hook up the link for you so that you can read this yourself. And she begins by saying, feel this blow as a coup de grace. The NSA, not only we now know, hoards data on our every communication, I think that's financial, but we now learn wants to have broader surveillance, dragnets, and deeper spycraft capabilities in place to defend that other great villain of the past decade, Wall Street. The nexus of power and control linking Washington, Silicon Valley, and Wall Street was made almost cinematically complete in comments from NSA Chief Keith Alexander to lawmakers this week. Earlier this year, following revelations that the NSA was spying on communications to the Brazilian oil giant Petrobras, the Director of National Security Intelligence, James Clapper, released a statement noting, and I'm quoting now from the article again, Quote, "It is not a secret that the intelligence community collects information about economic activity. It should also or could also provide insight into other countries' economic policy or behavior which could affect global markets," unquote. Now, that says it all right there, folks. That means they're gaming out the predictions, and they are mining this data for financial activity, financial prediction. This is a way, and it's a very clever way, it's a very covert way. This is a way of shoring up and defending the reserve status of the US dollar. That's what this is about. And this scenario gaming, as he's indicated here, other countries' economic policy or behavior which could affect global markets. This is the capability that they're after. This, I think, is the central core of the NSA spying story. Now, let me continue with Lennard's article here because she says some interesting things. Quote, "At the time that Clapper's reference to avoiding financial crises at best rang hollow," and that she's referring to the quotation I just read, "at worst, it smacked of U.S. exceptionalist hypocrisy. Quote, to get down the logical path laid by Clapper's own claims as a hypothetical exercise," wrote Degerald, "why doesn't the NSA spy on Wall Street?" Well, the question answers itself, because I think that's what they do. They cannot model predictive behavior without, excuse me, without collecting data on Wall Street. So in other words, when the NSA is coming out now and suggesting that they want expanded powers to spy on Wall Street, to defend Wall Street, they are probably already gathering data. Now to continue, "this could get them all the evidence they need to successfully prosecute those responsible and truly move towards stabilizing the economy. If any part of the American society or business had shown itself to be corrupt to the core and thus in need of surveillance, it's Wall Street." According to reports from Foreign Policy this week and NSA Chief Keith Alexander's public remarks on Tuesday, the NSA does spy on Wall Street. And there, folks, is the admission. There we have it. This is all about finance. This is the mechanism that they're using not only to look and examine other behavior that could affect, as it says, global markets. But they have probably also been using this capability to manipulate global markets. At times they are, in other words, in competition with the central banks, and at times they are working together to hedge off storms. I suspect more of the latter, quite frankly, because when you couple this vast electronic surveillance capability that the NSA has, together with the vast clearing and processing capability of SWIFT, the Society for World Interbank Financial Transfer in Brussels, the CHIPS clearing exchange in the United States and this country, you have a vast interlocked network of financial spying capable more or less of looking at the total global picture, and it's all more or less in Western hands. Add to that the electronic eavesdropping capabilities of GCHQ in Great Britain, of the Sûreté and people like that in France, of BIS, the Bank of International Settlements. You have a truly global network for financial manipulation. This is why I think really and ultimately we see nations like Brazil, which is objecting strenuously to this activity by the NSA and is threatening to pull Brazil out of an American-led internet and set up their own independent internet for that country. I think you're going to see more and more of this activity from the BRICS nations. You're going to have, I think, eventually a real system of competitive electronic eavesdropping, if that makes any sense. In other words, I think it's something that we can't really escape. Now, to continue here with this short article, and again, this is, I think, one of the most significant articles to come along in a long time. Lennard continues, quote, "According to reports from Foreign Policy this week, the NSA Chief Keith Alexander's public remarks on Tuesday, the NSA does spy on Wall Street, but not, of course, to watch for malfeasance, rather to protect and defend." There it is. They're defending the reserve status of the dollar. They're defending the Western economy. Again, from whom? Well, this is the other question we need to ask, because if you've been following the cyber warfare story at all, you know that China is deeply involved with it, and we also know, I've blogged about it, I've talked about it on News and Views, Russia is setting up their own systems, probably have already done so, but they're beefing them up. So in other words, cyber warfare is now and taking the form of economic warfare, and it's entering a new phase. And it's going to be the same players behind it. The NSA is, in a certain sense, doing its job that it's supposed to be doing, because you do have those nations and those entities out there that would wish the Western economy harm. Now, let's continue. Let's finish up here. Alexander told lawmakers that he wanted his spy agency to have the ability to prevent cyber attacks, there it is, against U.S. banking institutions. In other words, I think the possibility exists that they might be setting us up, the powers that be, for a false flag cyber attack on banks to suck out people's money and blame it on somebody else. That's another possibility here that we need to watch for. In no uncertain terms, Alexander was asking for expanded legal authority to further expand the NSA's surveillance programs. And there it is, folks. So I realize a short news and views this week, but a necessary one, because I think we're seeing more and more evidence that the hypothesis that Secretary Fitz and I and others have been advancing, that this represents the ultimate insider trading mechanism, but I'm arguing something else. It also represents the ultimate scenario gaming system. It also represents the ultimate system for maintaining a control and hedge over the virtual dollar reserve status of the Western financial world, since so much transaction is now online. It's now electronic. So the NSA is, like it or not, in the banking the banking and finance business. That'll do it this week for News and Views from the Nefarium, everybody. Again, I want to thank everybody for your prayers. One last announcement. I meant to announce that last week. Covert Wars and Clash of Civilizations is taking a bit longer, according to some people, to get through Amazon systems, so it is out. Adventures Unlimited Press already has the book, so if you've been waiting on Amazon and you're impatient, it might be best to go directly to the publisher, Adventures Unlimited. Anyway, that's it for News and Views this week from the Nefarium. I'll see you on the flip side, everybody, and God bless.